How's it look?
Haunted but empty.
Huh, just like us.
Yeah, same. Hello, Internet. I'm Ren, and today I want to talk about The Last of Us, Season 2, Episode 5, Feel Her Love. And it turns out this season only has 7 episodes, so we only have 2 episodes to go, but this one was a doozy, and I have a lot of thoughts, so let's get into it. This is going to be another low-key, unscripted review, so it's just me, my notes, and my hyperfixation while we break down this episode. And of course, this video will contain spoilers for The Last of Us TV series up to this point, so you have been warned. The episode starts with the WLF leader that we saw in the previous episode welcoming Isaac, interrogating a woman over the loss of several soldiers.
If it's war again, we're gonna need all the soldiers we have, so he's wondering why you apparently killed some of your own men.
It turns out while they were clearing a hospital basement, they discovered it was full of spores, and unfortunately the infection was airborne and they had to be sealed in.
I said, Leon, where you been? He said it's in the air. See, listen.
The soldiers also included the woman's son.
We did what Leon said. We sealed them in.
So interrogating her as if this had been intentional seems like an odd choice, but luckily they aren't suspicious of her for long and commend her for her heroic efforts and her sacrifice.
We owe you a debt.
Because ultimately they need the hospital, even if the basement is a death trap full of spores and zombies.
The hospital's a resource we can't afford to lose.
We check in with Ellie and Dina at the theater, where Dina is using the positions she's hearing over the radio to try and triangulate a route to the hospital that avoids the various WLF patrols. When Ellie realizes she's not going to be helpful at this task,
I don't know what that is, and I hated math. I'm gonna leave you alone now, because you're smart as and you're figuring it out.
she wanders off and continues exploring the theater and discovers another guitar. And she sings a little bit.
If I ever want to lose you.
And it's obvious she's thinking about Joel, and I'm sad. Dina does find a route with a void of possible patrols, which makes them suspect that there's probably a significant amount of infected there or some other deterrent that explains why the wolves aren't patrolling that particular building.
It's a big fucking something for them just to ignore. Why aren't they patrolling it? Infected. Probably.
And they note that the wolves are being particularly careless over the walkies.
Nora should be on the first floor, far end of the north wing. Wait, how the fuck do you know that? They never shut up. I hear everything.
And giving away all kinds of position information, even though they're allegedly in the middle of a war. And Dina speculates that it's because the Seraphites are probably similar to the Amish.
We already know they use bows and arrows, right? And they seem culty, or at least really religious. You ever hear of Amish people?
So the WLF knows that the Seraphites aren't listening to them, and therefore are incredibly careless over the radio, because I guess they're not used to having another serious threat in the area, having driven Fedra off by the looks of it. Ellie rightly asserts that this is an edge,
It's good. They're overconfident. It gives us an edge.
but Dina also correctly notes that that edge only goes so far, and what they're doing is incredibly reckless.
It does, but what we're doing is reckless, so kind of a wash.
But they decide to chance it.
Let's go be reckless.
On the walk over, Ellie asks Dina about baby names,
What are you gonna name it?
and Dina is a little bit silly about it.
If it's a girl, Ellie. If it's a boy, Elijah. Really? No.
And Ellie starts to panic over the fact that she shouldn't have dragged Dina into all of this.
I shouldn't have come. I shouldn't have dragged you here. You're having a fucking baby. What am I doing?
And Dina recounts the story of the first person she killed,
We lived in a cabin in a forest north of Santa Fe, and I would get so bored cooped up with my mom and sister.
which was a raider who attacked her family when she was out exploring,
I heard them screaming, and I ran back with my gun out, but I was too slow because I was 8.
and she returned too late to save them, but in time to kill him.
And when he heard me, he turned around, and he looked really startled. And when I shot him, he looked more startled.
And she compares that to what Ellie witnessed in terms of Joel's death,
I think, what if I hadn't snuck out? What if that motherfucker made me watch as he did it?
and how it would have impacted her if she had watched her family die the way Ellie watched Joel die,
Would it make a difference if my family had hurt his people first? No.
and empathizes with her desire to hunt Abby down.
And if I hadn't killed him, if he had gotten away, I would have hunted him down forever. Forever.
And thereby explains her commitment to Ellie's cause. And when she gives Ellie the option to turn back, Ellie decides that she wants to keep going.
I'll go back if you want, and I'll keep going if you want. Keep going.
And I'm sure she's not going to come to regret that decision. Once they enter the deserted building and aren't immediately swarmed by infected, they make a plan.
If it gets bad, and we have to make a choice between shooting or running, we run.
Ellie agrees, despite her generally headstrong approach to things. Although Dina is a little bit dubious.
Oh, you think that no matter what happens, I'm just gonna start firing? Literally every single time, yes.
And manages to slip in that she loves Ellie,
You're a little crazy, and that's exciting. That's one of the reasons I love you. But I do want to make it out of here.
which is super cute.
You love me? I know.
And something I definitely need in this episode. As they venture further in, everything initially seems fine until they encounter one of the smart zombies that Ellie met in the first episode, a stalker. They formulate a plan,
Split up. Whichever one it follows, the other one comes up and takes it out from behind. Plan.
but it's quickly ruined when they realize that it's not alone. And in fact, there's some kind of hive of them, and they are surrounded. So Ellie creates a diversion and lures as many as she can to her, while Dina manages to get into some kind of chain link cage thing that happens to be there, and she secures it and kills some of the infected, and Ellie does her best to fend them off as they swarm her. All seems lost when Jesse comes in and saves the day. He blasts the remaining infected and offers a hand to Ellie. They escape the building, but the WLF, having heard the gunshots, are in hot pursuit. They flee into a park, but the wolves don't follow them in.
No, we don't go in there.
And they speculate it's because there must be infected in the park.
Great. We're infected.
Maybe. We can't go back that way.
But that's not all that's in the park. As they wander through the park, Jesse reveals that Tommy is in the city as well,
You came alone?
No, me and Tommy. We split when we got to the city.
and that they both left shortly after Ellie and Dina did, on an unsanctioned rescue mission to bring them home.
Can't believe they sent you after us.
They didn't. But you two were gonna die out here, so we snuck out the next night.
But Ellie still doesn't want to turn back, having not learned her lesson from her near-death experience.
Found a way out, shelter for the night, meet up with Tommy, and then we all go home.
No. Ellie.
And Jesse is overall pissed about the situation,
It's a good thing we did.
You know what, we're doing pretty fucking good.
Up until what?
Until we weren't.
which is fair enough. Their little chat is interrupted by whistles. As it turns out, the park is inhabited by seraphites, and we watch them disembowel and hang an unfortunate wolf, and they spot Ellie, Dina, and Jesse. Dina gets shot in the leg, and Ellie creates another diversion to lure the seraphites away while Dina and Jesse escape.
I'll leave them away. Get it out. Go. I'll meet you back there.
Ellie manages to lose them in the park, and when she comes out, she finds herself near the hospital. She sneaks in, and she hunts down Nora.
You remember me? Yeah, you remember me. What do you want? Where's Abby?
And Nora makes a similar plea to the one that Joel made to Abby, pointing out that they let Ellie live,
We could have killed you. Maybe you should have.
and doesn't play it smart.
It was terrible. The way he died. That little bitch got what he deserved.
And Ellie chases Nora down through the hospital. Nora calls out an intruder alert. But with Ellie right on her tail, she has no choice but to escape down an elevator shaft, and unfortunately finds herself in the spore-filled basement. And Ellie follows her down. Ellie, of course, is unaffected by the spores, and takes in the stunning and horrifying scene before her, with the infected releasing little puffs of spores, and this incredible, intricate set they've built with all of these different mushrooms taking over the space. It is so immersive and cool looking. Just absolutely stunning visuals. And we see Leon, the female soldier from the beginning of the episode's son, who has sort of melded with one of the pillars. And then Ellie catches up to Nora, who's already struggling to breathe from spore inhalation. After she realizes that Ellie is immune,
We're infected. You killed us both. Did I?
and apparently the rumors were true,
The immune girl, you're real.
she tells Ellie about the hospital and what Joel did.
Don't you know what he did? I don't care. You don't care. He killed everyone in that hospital.
And how he destroyed the chance for a cure,
Including the only fucking person alive that can make a cure from here.
and how he killed Abby's father.
That was Abby's father. Joel shot him in the head.
And it turns out, Ellie already knew,
That's what he did. I know.
and she doesn't care. And so she asks Nora where Abby is.
Where's Abby?
And when Nora refuses to tell her, Ellie picks up a metal pipe and asks again,
Where is she? No.
and hits her. And that's where we leave Ellie, as she continues to hit Nora and demand to know where Abby is.
Where is she?
And to her credit, it seems like Nora has decided her last act on this earth isn't going to be betraying a friend, no matter how much Ellie puts her through. And then we cut to a flashback of Joel, waking Ellie up on a normal morning, and there's a sweetness to the ordinariness of it.
Hey, kiddo.
Hi.
And it just breaks your heart. And that's where the episode ends. And it looks like from the preview that next week's episode is going to contain all of the cute Joel flashbacks from the game, which I have been waiting for eagerly after all of this carnage. And I'm honestly really excited. I do hope the flashbacks are the bulk of the episode and that it's kind of a departure from the main story like Long, Long Time was. I also think it would be interesting if that includes a compare and contrast sort of with the flashbacks of Abby's dad and the beginnings of us starting to develop more empathy for her. Nora knowing about Ellie's immunity as some kind of rumor does kind of imply that Abby did know why Joel did what he did to some extent, which did help with sort of a glaring plot hole insofar as Abby never asked Joel why, and I would have understood if Joel refused to answer, but my partner was really bothered by this, and I can't blame him because during that scene I was waiting for her to ask and she never did, but this kind of clears that up, that to an extent she knew why, she knew what happened, and just like for Ellie, the reason didn't matter to her, because this episode really is rife with setting up parallels between Ellie and Abby's stories. One of the parallels we see is the way that Jesse saves Ellie's life, and he offers his hand to her. There's a reason that shot directly mirrors the shot of Joel offering his hand to Abby after saving her life. Because in both of those moments, Abby and Ellie each had an opportunity to turn around and make the better choice, being given a second chance with having their lives saved by someone. Otherwise, their revenge quests would have both ended then and there by getting eaten. Instead, each of them was offered a second chance with a rescue, and neither of them took that second chance to do something different. Both of them immediately resumed their revenge warpath. And there's a reason that Ellie picking up that pipe directly mirrors the scene with Abby grabbing the golf clubs, because it's a point of no return for both characters, where no matter what they do from that point on, there's no going back from that moment. They are irrevocably changed. There will be consequences for their actions that will ripple out and will cost them. It's a choice. And it almost feels like this episode is a direct response to all of the commenters on various platforms who were saying that it feels like Ellie is just on a fun hike rather than a revenge quest. No, she's here for the revenging, that's why. She's just got a little time to play guitar and do some romancing along the way is all. The scene where Ellie beats Nora, as brief as it was still incredibly hard to watch. And there is something to be said about an element of racialized violence in both games, where several characters of color meet particularly grisly ends like Nora does. And while I was expecting this, I also fully thought that Nora was a different person, especially because she was at the hospital. I thought she was the one that knocked Dina out and was treating her frostbite and administered the tourniquet to Joel. No idea how I mixed that up, but my relief at finding out the one that was more a character wasn't the one that Ellie immediately tracked down was very short-lived by the sheer brutality of this scene. I think it establishes that while we like Ellie because we know Ellie, she's not that different from Abby, and the choices she makes going forward are very similar to the decisions that Abby made when she went after Joel. And both of them are choosing to perpetuate this cycle of violence no matter what it costs them and other people around them. Because Ellie has lots of reasons to turn back and go home. She can live a peaceful life with Dina and their child in Jackson. All she has to do is give up this quest for revenge. But at this point, she's too far gone, and that's really sad. But I am grateful that it seems like we're going to get a buffer episode before what I assume is going to be a brutal finale. I am sad that this is a 7-episode season. I was expecting at least 8 episodes, but honestly was hoping for 10. So there's definitely a lot of story for them to pack into these last 2 episodes, and they're clearly not going to wrap up part 2 just in this season. And honestly, I think that's fine. I think it's good that they're taking their time and not rushing their way through the story just to get things done, because it gives us time for episodes like Long, Long Time, or what I hope is going to be next week's episode. And I'm a fan of a filler episode. So all in all, I'm really enjoying this season. I really liked this week's episode, as sad and uncomfortable as it made me at times. I think the show really is elevating its source material, but also staying true to it in the ways that matter. But that's all I have for you for now. What did you think of this episode? Do you think Ellie has passed the point of no return? And do you think she's as bad as Abby? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos. See you next time. Wiedersehen.